This episode of the Nerdball Podcast is presented by Renewal by Anderson. You must be thinking, Lorenzo, you got an ad? You got a sponsor? You're presented by somebody now? Technically not. And I'm doing this out of my own free will because my guest works for Renewal by Anderson. And we don't really talk about that a lot, but it's part of his gig. And I wanted to shout him out because we, at our house, at the Nerdball house, got windows from Renewal by Anderson. So I wanted to shout them out. In the episode, I do bring up the fact that there are a few things that they need to work on. Not giant things, just small little things that they could fix and they'll be much better. And they would be happy to do it if I just got off my lazy butt and actually called them to say, come fix this thing for me, please. Anyway, Renewal by Anderson, we had a great experience. The whole experience, this was 2 years ago now. I can't remember. Salesperson was great. I can't remember his name and I don't remember it in the podcast either. So I'm sorry. Salesperson was great. Installation was great. Everything worked out really well. We got really quality windows and hopefully I never have to buy windows again. So thank you, Renewal by Anderson. Also, these windows are coming in handy because it is hot right now in Ohio. There is hot heat. It feels like 110 degrees. I had a couple of days off this week and I forced my 14-year-old son to help me move 2 tons of gravel. And he did, but he had football off, so he can work out a little bit this week, so he's fine. I, on the other hand, was not. And my 2 days, I had 4 days off in a row. The last 2 were moving stone, working outside. Had a good time. Sweated a lot because of the heat. But working with my son, it was good. We had a good time. I guess. I don't know if he had a good time or not. But I appreciated his help. And then when we were done, I got to have him. I dropped him off at a friend's house so he can go swimming. And I laid down. So it was good. Anyway, all this nonsense leading up to this podcast, I sat down with the new head varsity basketball coach at Perrysburg High School, Dave McWhinnie. He was a great guest. Like I said, he is also the GM at Renewal by Anderson. We talk about that a little bit. It's mostly, if you can imagine, all basketball podcast in his life, his children, and that kind of stuff. So before I go, thanks always for doing everything you can to help the podcast grow. Continue to subscribe. We're almost up to 300. I remember just a short time ago, I was asking to reach 200. Now we're almost to 300. So thank you for everything. Continue to help this podcast. We appreciate it here over at the Nerdball Podcast. And I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, this is Dave McWhinnie, and this is the Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Great, Dave. Thanks for coming on my podcast. Thanks also for working with me schedule-wise. I feel like we started this conversation about 2.5 months ago.
Yep. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I was excited for you to come on. Being a Perrysburg guy, most of my life, I moved here when I was 14, graduated, and I coach all kinds of sports and stuff there. So I was excited to get you on. I had the new girls coach on, Miriam, a few episodes ago, so that was cool. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. The first thing I always ask people is, what is something you nerd out about? Something you're really into. It just can't be like your job. It just gets you away from like the daily grind.
I don't have a lot of hobbies. You know, I love basketball. I mean, and that really is a escape for me. I'm not into golf. I'm not into a lot of other things. But outside of work, basketball is kind of my hobby, and the statistics behind it are a big thing for me. I love numbers. I love statistics. I love analyzing things and trying to put yourself in the best position possible. But yeah, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that stuff.
Now, you obviously coach high school. Is there basketball you like watching more? Like, let's say on television.
Sure.
Like if there's something you could choose to watch, whether it's, I know the NBA Finals just ended, or March Madness, college. What is something you like watching?
Sure. I certainly watch the NBA Finals, but I'm a diehard college basketball fan, Michigan fan. I loved watching Dusty May and went to the national championship this year.
Oh, nice.
Their concepts are just phenomenal. Obviously, they had a lot of talented players, but they run great concepts. I really enjoy watching Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska and Purdue and Iowa. There's a few coaches that I just really admire, and the way they play and the way they move, and Danny Hurley. Not necessarily his temperament, but
Sure.
but his offensive mind is unreal, and he's he's changed the game, and a lot of people are working off of his concepts. But yeah, just it's fun to see people that are a little bit ahead of the game. And I see I studied his dad when I coached the first time and took a lot of concepts, and I see him taking those concepts and layering it on, and that stuff's just a lot of fun for me.
Can you? I know it changed for me when I started coaching football. 2011 was my first time coaching football,
Sure.
and then as I started doing more, it changed how I watched just any football game, because now I'm just not watching to enjoy it. Now I'm like, ooh, I like that, and then I might stop it and write something down, or I see an offensive play because I'm the head freshman coach, so I run the offense, and like, ooh, I want to learn how to do that. Obviously, we don't have these big athletic guys, but how can I use that to
Sure.
So I'm assuming it's changed, but how is your mind when you're watching a game?
It depends. I will say I was off for 5 years, and there was a point where I started watching a little more as a fan. I tried to mentally shut it off a little bit, but over the last couple of years, I've the flip has kind of switched back, and really just enjoyed studying it. And it's just hard to not. You see a good concept and you kind of catalog it, and even this weekend somebody ran a play against us that I have only seen one time. University of Michigan ran it, and I've had that thing cataloged of something we're putting in this winter, and I laugh, and I asked the guy where he saw it, and he got it through somebody else, but I'm 100% sure they got it from Dusty May, and it's funny how certain concepts are. You just see them and you can kind of see the roots of them.
Yeah. I want to get your opinion because I'm a gigantic Spurs fan. So watching the NBA Finals, I don't know if you watched all the games or something.
Most of them, yeah.
Right. What do you think, besides the obvious that the Spurs couldn't hold a lead, what made the Knicks so great at every game coming back from a double-digit lead?
So one of the things that I had heard them talk about was making sure they didn't burn their players out early in the game, and just down the stretch, allowing Brunson just some opportunity to move and to really have his energy late in the game. Like I remember them talking about how they would try to wear Harden out early in the game, and Harden would go for these huge numbers, but you get down to the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game and he was burnt. If you watch the way the Knicks played, they kind of not let them get ahead, but they were not running the same type of action at the beginning, and at the end, a lot of it teams had worn down, and then Brunson would just go to work. And I feel like they figured something out there, and I also think they wore Wemby down a little bit.
Sure.
It's hard. I mean, I don't know exactly how you handle that differently if you're the Spurs, because he's young, he's long, if you bang on him and lean into him, I do think mentally they wore out a little bit, but Wemby's a freak, and he's fun to watch, and I do think he'll have his chances, but yeah, Jalen Brunson's probably as enjoyable of a player for me to watch as there is in the NBA, and I was happy for him to get it. I probably would have preferred the Spurs to win overall, but when you see a guy like that where it means a lot to him, it's kind of fun to watch. So.
I know there was all the memes and stuff talking about, man, the Mavs drafted both these guys in the same draft, and now they have neither of them.
Yeah,
Doncic
right.
And Brunson.
Yep.
That's wild. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wrote a Facebook post about it too, how much I enjoyed this playoff run because the Spurs. My whole life, I've seen 5 championships.
Sure.
Right. So my whole life, it's been winning basketball, and then these past 5 years, it hasn't been.
Right.
And now my son, who's going to be a freshman, we get to do that together. And I remember I told before the finals started, I said, "Dad, they're destined to win." He goes, "Why?" I said, I was 14, freshly graduated 8th grader. The Spurs were playing the Knicks in the finals. Mateo, my son's 14, freshly graduated 8th grader. They're playing the Knicks in the finals. They have to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was cool to be able to watch it with my son and my dad. We watched a couple of the games together, like all of us in the family here. So that was like a cool part of it. That doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So obviously we spent the first 10 minutes talking about basketball. Is this from little kid Dave? Has this always been basketball for you?
Yeah, I actually played college soccer, which
really?
Which a lot of it, I went to a small school in Indiana and did play college soccer. I grew up playing Perrysburg travel soccer when I was a kid, and played basketball.
You grew up here?
Obviously. Yeah, I grew up in Perrysburg, and I ended up graduating from Toledo Christian High School, but I went to Perrysburg through 7th grade, and I've reconnected actually with a lot of my elementary and middle school friends or junior high friends, which has been kind of fun to reconnect with so many people over the past few months. But I grew up here and loved both sports, enjoyed it, and I do enjoy. I'm obviously a big fan of the World Cup. I'm enjoying that as well. It's been a lot of fun.
So as you're working through school, high school, is there a point, and maybe it's after high school, where you're like, man, I do want to coach? Because sometimes, I know for me, I've coached a lot of stuff. I just knew I wanted to coach something.
Right.
Where is that for you, where you knew, like, I'm going to coach?
I remember sitting in 5th grade, Mrs. Phips class at Woodland School, and drawing up plays. And I had a zone offense that I was convinced nobody could stop. And it is funny how those things, those little seeds of that. And when I graduated high school, I went and worked at McCracken basketball camp. I had gone to McCracken camps every year, and went and worked their camp. And I always loved basketball. I loved even quite frankly, I went to a smaller school, and the soccer coach showed me more interest than the basketball coach did. I would have walked on to the basketball thing, and I think I could have helped him. I was similar level at both of them.
Okay.
I had a good college career in soccer, but I wasn't necessarily better at soccer. It just was the coach was just more open to me playing, and I went there and started as a freshman and had a good career there. But it's just one of those. It's just kind of the way it worked out.
Yeah.
And but I always loved the high school basketball. To me was just so special. Even as a kid, like I just dreamed about playing high school basketball, and I every day I did it, and I obsessed over it, and I loved it as much as any kid could love playing high school basketball. And then when I got to start coaching, I was an assistant for 4 years, and moved to Chicago to take a job with a great financial company, But the opportunity came to take a coaching job back at Toledo Christian, the head coaching job, and I put my name in, and everybody thought I was nuts for leaving the money and leaving that. But the bouncing ball called, and we came back and had a great 20-year run, and then been off for the last 5 and ready to be back at it.
So you go to what was your school you went to? Your college?
Taylor University.
Okay, yeah. So I think we had a couple kids go there for football in recent years.
Yeah, I think there was a baseball kid that went there. Very recently too.
Yep. So you go through that. You get a job. You say you went to Chicago.
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay. And how is? And I know as a coach, but I guess explain to other people what is that feeling of like, no, I'm good to leave this because this is what I really want to do, even though like financially it doesn't make sense to 90% of the people.
Right. Yeah. It didn't. I mean, it's my parents thought I was nuts. My in-laws thought I was nuts. But we also, you give yourself to something bigger than you are. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more things that to me that are more important than money. Money's, you have to have some things to survive, and certainly we've done that, but that's not the end all. And it's, being of service to the community and being able to mentor young men. To me, I don't think there's a better use of time. And that's, really my call back to coaching. A lot of it was influence. I don't know that I've really shared this publicly, but Keith Diebler, during one of his interviews, his son is the Ohio State basketball coach. I've known Keith for a while, but I saw an interview. He went back and he's coaching at Danbury High School, and they asked him why he's in it, and he said, and I don't remember if it's the exact quote, but it was something about, it's just a service to the community. There's not a better way to give back to the community than trying to mentor young people, and that's really, like I've seen that, even. We've had some success in business and had some success in other things, but there's nothing more valuable to me than being able to mentor young people that are in that age of 14 to 18. But even I view the whole program, even the second grader, the third grader, the fourth grader, like having them dream big dreams, and especially the young ones, they're lucky because they can, if they decide they want to do something, they've got time and training to put into it, and being able to paint that picture for them, and that's. What I'm enjoying it so much being back to do that, but it's just one of those things. Like when I get in the gym, I just feel like I'm just in my favorite spot, and I'm just blessed to be there.
Yeah, I definitely feel that being coaching for so long. I've coached any sport, you name it, I've coached it. My first coaching job was I was 19, and I helped coach my sister's softball team. And so like just being involved in that, same thing, being with the community, helping these people, and that's why I work for the Metro Parks. The same thing. Like I run a park downtown Glass City Metro Park, and my staff, our job is to make sure the park is great for people to enjoy, and that's what we
Yes.
want, right? Same thing here when you're coaching whatever sport. I mean, everybody wants to win, right? But after that, it's like, all right, well, are these people succeeding in basketball? Are they succeeding in life after?
Yep.
Are you what part did you play? At some point, you played a part, and how big of
Right.
it you don't know, but there's a part of it. You know?
Yeah, and for me, it's teaching resilience. It's teaching kids to show up on time, to be there every day, to to work hard, to be able to achieve things that you didn't think were possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those things that just like we're gonna be gritty, we're gonna be tough, but it's like that stuff carries over to life, and it's I've been to quite a few of the football liftings with Dirk. In the mornings, and I watch these kids that show up and they walk in by 6 o'clock every day. Just about every kid is on time every day. They work their tails off, and you just can't convince me those aren't going to be some of the most successful people that this area has. Like there's not that many people that are willing to give that much of themselves, and I want that same thing for Perrysburg basketball, where there's kids that are just willing to to give up sleep and give up some of the extracurricular stuff for that, but it's bigger than them, and they're doing it as a collective group, and they're gonna. I mean, the football team's gonna be very good this year, but it's a lot of that. Like those kids are basically being built to be amazing young men someday, and as they already are young men, but as they grow into manhood, they're just going to be totally ready for that and way ahead of the competition that's out there.
That's one thing I love too about being the head coach, is having that much influence where, even if it's as simple as like in the middle of practice, you got to stop, you got to talk about something in particular. Sometimes you talk about not even football in my case, like because of something else that's happening in the world or something that happened. We had a game last year where 3 kids left in an ambulance on our team.
Oh, wow.
So having to come back and talk to the kids in the locker room about these big things where some will remember for the rest of their lives and some may not. But
right.
you're touching the minds of these kids at some level. And I think about that usually after a season when I'm reflecting. I'm like, all right, how'd the season go? What went wrong? What went well? And that kind of stuff. And think about those kind of moments. But I love those things where it's like it's more than the sport you're coaching. And
Yes,
you get to be a part
absolutely,
of that. Yeah.
absolutely.
So you coached for 20 years, you said, at Toledo Christian?
Yeah, I was an assistant for 4 and then 20 as head coach.
Okay, so when you go back and you become the head coach for the first time, what are you feeling? I'm sure there's nerves, I'm sure there's everything, especially because this is your school too,
Sure.
right?
Yep,
so
yep. Graduated from there, and we I mean, one, like every game meant the world, and it still does. Like I'm, that's one of the things. Like for me, every time, I say this, people hear me say this, but high school sports is so special. You got such a limited time. Now we get 22 games. Back then, you got 20 plus tournament. But it's like every one of those games. I lived and died on those. The losses. It's funny. Even a summer league loss last week. Like I was up at 4 a.m. I'm like, this is stinking summer league, but I'm so competitive. But that's it's one of those things that I want I want the best for the kids, and it's I greatly enjoyed it. The program at Toledo Christian at the time had come off of a number of losing seasons. The coach before me, who actually is going to be helping me at Perrysburg, Ron right now, he had laid the foundation at the time. Like they had the elementary program was rolling, so the middle school was good, but the high school was building. And the year before I got there, I think they won 5 games, and then we won 8, and then 9, and then 13. We had our first winning season in over a decade, my 3rd year, and then we won 18 straight after that, and had good seasons. I think our worst season we had a 12-10 where we had a couple injuries, but besides that, we won 15 or more every year. But we just kind of built that tradition from the kids got where they just expected to win, and we won a lot of games. And kind of like Perrysburg, where they win a lot of games when you look and it's maybe the other team was a little more talented or whatever, but just that tradition of being Perrysburg. And that's one of the things I love about it, is I don't have to totally rebuild that. It's just already kind of built. The previous coaches all did just such a nice job building that. And but at Toledo Christian, we had that where people, they walk in the gym and like we had a 5-year stretch where we didn't lose at home. And then we had just darn close to a 3-year stretch at the end where we didn't lose at home, and we just won the vast majority of those games, and it's it makes it fun. That part I'm proud of for sure.
So you there 20 years. Your son plays for you also, and from what I hear, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you stepped away to enjoy your son's college career. Is that correct?
It was honestly more because of work than that.
Okay.
In the COVID year was very tough. We were in Toledo. The Lucas County Health Department was a lot more strict than Wood County, and it was the only county in the state that basically forbid people from playing sports. And so we were able to play, but we could not play in Lucas County. So we played 13 straight road games to start Cole's senior year. We were almost every game. We traveled to some of the best places in Ohio for basketball. Like almost everywhere we went had won a state championship or was coming off of we ended a 26-game win streak for somebody. We went to Convoy Crestview, who had a kid going to Ohio State. Went to Berlin Highland, who's been state title championship teams numerous times, down to Jackson Center, and like these places that are a lot of them were small school, like kind of these places I've always heard about, and we got to go see and meet the people and have built some relationships through some of those, which has been fun. But it was honestly an amazing year, but it was an extremely hard year, and mentally I was just in a spot where I just needed to be done for a little while. That year wore me out. And then with Cole moving on and our business was kind of exploding during that time, I was just so stressed. My wife was like, you need to choose one right now. But then over the last couple of years, I've tried to set myself with the businesses continuing to do well, but I've tried to set it up where I have a little bit more help to handle some of the things that we had to handle at the beginning when we were growing so much.
So what is your business?
So Renewal by Anderson Windows. I'm the general manager there.
Oh, nice. And that's where we got our windows from.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, yep.
They off topic of basketball, but they came out I forget this was like 3 years ago now. I forget the salesman's name, but he was very good.
Okay.
Very good at his job. And we've had some like sleazy salesmen. This is the second time we bought windows. We bought windows at our old place in Toledo. We had this guy would not leave. And I won't say the company, but he would not leave. We had to let our dog in that was muddy and just like let him jump all over him because we were like trying to get it. He did that thing. It was like, well, let me call my general manager. And he calls like, whoa, oh, you can do that for him? Oh, okay. And then he was like, well, here's what the deal. I was like, God dang it, man, can you just leave my house?
Yeah.
But the guy we had, and I'll text you once I figure out his name.
Yep.
But he was really good, older guy, did a real good job. Really helped us. The insulation was really good. Just as a little plug for Renewal.
Yep, I appreciate that.
But yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah. No,
there are some things that I need to have someone come out and take a look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and that's one of the things we're there if there ever is any issue, we take care of it, and it's
that was a selling point for us.
It's been great. Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll go back to basketball. So your son, he plays in college?
So he just graduated from Hillsdale College.
Okay.
He played redshirted and then played 4 years, was a 3-year captain, and he's actually a grad assistant at University of Washington now.
Really?
So he landed in Seattle Monday, I think Monday he flew out there, and he's out there on day 3 or something like that for that.
So as like I said, my son's entering his freshman year. He has 4 more years, and if I talk about it, my wife gets mad at me. But he's our oldest. We have 2 kids. He's our oldest. What is, as a dad, when your child like leaves, what is that feeling when he just leaves and he's not there anymore? You had all these years with him, and now he's just there, not there.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, you go and I dreaded it. When they were little, I dreaded it. When Cole was going into his freshman year, I was like, I remember seeing like Toy Story or something where Andy went to college and like tears going down when they're in 6th grade, and you're like, I just want them to stay small forever. But when the time came, it was just more natural for them to go, and my wife and I get along well, which is helpful. And as my daughter was only a year behind, so they both kind of went, and they graduated together this year from college, which was kind of neat. But now they're on opposite sides of the country. She's in Washington D.C. and he's in the state of Washington.
Wow.
And in that part, but we're still close with them and talk with them all the time. And we, it's, I don't know, that's just part of life. They need to do what they feel called to do, and they're doing it. And it's for us, we just want to support them the best we can, and we're darn proud of them.
It is. I am worried for myself. I remember when the first time we took him to Disney World, My son was 7, my daughter was 4. And we were leaving. I was pushing the stroller, and we were leaving Magic Kingdom as the fireworks were going off, and it's our last night there. And I start crying, and my wife's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "The fireworks. They're never going to be this little again. It's all this stuff." And so now I'm worried for myself, see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's my son's 6'3", and he's a big kid, but he's still like lays on the couch with us, and like now. It's weird that he's bigger than me, but he'll give me a hug and like, all these things. And that's the things that I think about. It's like, man, in 4 years, it's just going to be gone.
Right.
Like, it's just weird. It's just hard thoughts. And I think that's why my wife gets mad. I was like, don't talk about it. We'll deal with it when we had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Did you, were you able to make a lot of your son's games and be able to watch them?
We did. Last year we made them all. Most time I made almost every home game. I think I missed a couple.
Okay.
I had a work trip one year and for one of them, but we made a chunk of the away games, not all the away games throughout his time, but this year we made it a goal to go to all of them. He started this year, and we just hey, it's our last go around. Let's make them all.
Yeah,
and we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a blast. We saw a lot of great venues and met a lot of great people. The Hillsdale parents are just awesome.
That's
like
cool.
we love those people so much, and in the community of just the kids are on the team, or the players. They're not kids, but young men on the team are awesome, and looking forward to following them this year. But yeah, we're still tight with a lot of them.
I loved going to football games because as I'm coaching, all these kids are playing, Division 3, Division 2 football, and get to go experience all these things. Our kids' first football game, college football game ever was Heidelberg at Adrian.
Oh yeah,
that was our first because we had Drew Sims was a quarterback, right? So we'd go and it's just but the same thing, like being part of the tailgates. Like we don't have kids on, we just know the Simses.
Yep, sure.
And then part of these tailgates and eat food and like, yeah, everyone come on, it's fine, you're good, and like being involved in all that. But it is fun, and that's my son wants to play college football, and my daughter twirls baton, and she wants to do it in college too. So I look forward to that kind of stuff too. Where you stay involved as much as you can, almost as much as they let you, be involved in. So I'm looking forward to that. As he was getting recruited, did he like how much were you involved in it? Because you've been a coach for a long time. I'm sure you've sent kids to college. Yep. Like how much did he lean on you or ask you any questions?
Yeah, a decent amount. I mean, one of the things that it was during COVID that he ended his junior year, so his senior year of AAU was all messed up. The whole time was different. We got connected with Ohio Buckets and that group during that time, and they did a really nice job promoting him. We got connected with a couple people, and he was one of the few kids in the state getting offers during that time. Oh. But a lot of it was video. He had 2 straight years that were record book years for the 2 of the best years of shooting percentages. He shot made 93 threes or something, 95 or 93 or something like that his junior year, and shot it I can't remember 48% or something like that. But 47 plus gets you in the state record book if you have a minimum of I don't know the number, 75 makes or something like that, and it's a lot of makes. I mean, you got to make 3.5 a game or something like that. But he had a couple years of that, and Steve Alford's son, Corey Alford, offered him at Huntington, and then Hillsdale offered, and we had some help from some local coaches, which I greatly appreciate. With Hillsdale, said, "Hey, you need to offer this kid," and they offered, and he took it, and then and really before we even played AAU, and there were quite there. He was a master, honestly, as good as I've ever seen of a kid getting recruited. He had databases and spreadsheets of how many students were enrolled. And during this time, it was kind of important. He literally had the endowment amount for every school. One of the big selling points for Hillsdale was they had almost $1 billion in their endowment, and a lot of these other schools that were recruiting them had $15 million we weren't 100% sure if all the kids were going to be back in the fall. There were some of that stuff mattered. Is this school going to be around in 5 years? And Lords has gone out of business. Siena Heights has gone out of business. There's and Lords was the one that was recruiting him. But those were things that played into some of that of he had the distance, and he literally had coaches' names. It was
very impressive.
Yeah, and also just making sure that videos were going out on a regular basis, and that's one of the things I'm trying to help. And our kids are doing a really nice job, or our players are doing a really nice job of. We're getting social media stuff out, so college coaches are seeing them, and I feel like we've got multiple scholarship level kids on the basketball team this year that and they're probably not playing at Michigan or Ohio State, but there's kids that can get a lot of college, if not all of it, paid for, and just trying to make sure we're promoting that. And it's harder and harder for high school kids to get scholarships because so many of these schools are only giving 1 or 2 scholarships to that, and they're taking portal kids that have been seasoned. They might have redshirted and been seasoned for a couple of years, and now they're 21 and 22, and it's like they just naturally are bigger, better, stronger. But I still think there's some opportunity there, and hopefully, really hoping that some of these young men get a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part. What I'm learning is, or I've learned, with Coach Connor and Coach Kriegel before, like as the head coach, you try to steer these kids to colleges or think whatever their level is, and sometimes there's kids that are like, I'm going to play Division I, and this is where I'm going, and then they end up not playing, but they're there for 4 years and they're part of the team, and that's what they wanted to do, you know. And then other kids were, they go to like Drew Sims went to Division III, started 4 years there, and went through that. So there's all these different levels, and you can try to persuade them, but they're going to do what they want to do, and I guess at the end, if they enjoyed it, then it's a win for everybody, right?
Yeah, and that's. It is funny. I do tell people there's a lot of times there's just nothing better than high school sports. Even so many. I've had a lot of players that went on and played in college, and some that had some pretty good success, but they almost to a guy would say the most fun time they ever had was playing with the kids they grew up with, and it's at Perrysburg we have such a special thing that we can build off of with the community, and they've known these kids, the vast majority of them, their whole life, and from second or third grade when they maybe started playing junior jackets, they've seen them at camp or at the pool or wherever it is, and that's just so special. There's nothing like it.
And we've talked about your son, but you said you have a daughter too. She's in Washington D.C. Is she in government or any of that stuff?
So she's doing a fellowship right now with Hudson Institute. She is going to be doing some work where they're doing artwork in like national parks and different things. And it's a small group of I think it's just 4 or 5 people in the office, but they that office did a bunch of stuff for the 250th celebration, and she's joining them right after her fellowship, which is right after the 250th. So I'm not 100% sure what all they're doing, but they're going to be coordinating artwork going throughout the country in government places, and
that's pretty cool.
She's doing that for a couple of years, and then she doesn't plan on being in DC forever, but it's kind of a fun. It's kind of her dream job. She loves art, and last year had an internship in the House of Representatives, and met a ton of people and just networked, and I don't know, she just kind of figures it out. So it's exciting, and she tells me what she's doing. I don't fully understand it, but she's not calling asking for money, so we're good. So
that's always a plus, right?
Yep.
So does she want to stay in like art and museums and that kind of stuff?
She would. I mean, I think that would be a dream of hers if she could. She'd love to stay in that. I think she felt like this was kind of a dream type job, nice. and we'll see where it takes her. She is a talented writer, and she'll probably. I won't be surprised if she used writing in some way. And I think this job she's doing some of that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure exactly where this will all take her. But for now, she's just having fun. She's getting married next year, and her fiance is going to go to law school, and he's working at a law firm for a couple years in D.C. to get some experience, and then more than likely will be at a high end like Harvard, Yale type of law school type situation. So they'll move and through law school to that, and she'll figure it out. So
yeah, that's what my dad said. My dad always told me my mom was like, when we were growing up, she's like, oh, they're going to do this. And then when they play high school sports, they're going to be the greatest. And my dad was always on the other side. Like he said, we always outperformed what he thought. Yeah. He goes, I think that's because I was protecting myself. I didn't want to get too excited about it.
Yep.
So then when you guys, that way, if you guys didn't do well, I was like prepared already.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, you could be our biggest cheerleader. We'll be all right.
Yeah. My daughter was one that outperformed. She was a very good volleyball player at the end, and she was a little kid when she was young. And I remember her coach. She'd get so mad because the coach would tell her, "Well, you're just not strong enough to hit a serve overhand," and a couple things. And the next year, we went outside. She was the most determined little kid, but by the time she was done, she was 5'8" or 5'9" and could jump and was. had a really nice senior year, had some college opportunities, but she really was just kind of done. She wanted to be done, but she had. I give her a ton of credit. She was just a gritty volleyball player, and cool. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you were off for 5 years. In those 5 years, was it just this end here where you're like, yeah, I want to like I guess what in your mind was like, I want to get back into coaching?
So I coached Ohio Buckets 3 of the years that when I was off. So I was off, but I was still around high school students. The hard part about travel basketball is it takes 7 or 8 of your weekends where you are traveling in Indianapolis and Fort Wayne and Columbus, and it can be back to back to back. So you might have 28 days with almost not having a day off, and work was kind of, especially in 2022 when I coached, we were still kind of growing. I ended up taking a year off and then did it again in 24, and then last year did it. My team that I had last year, and the team that I had in 22 was great too, but I just had some other outside things that were stressful from work where. It was not as enjoyable because of the stresses of work last year. I just fully enjoyed it, and it was still travel ball. I would do it again possibly, but not if I'm coaching high school ball. But it's not. I just love the schedule of high school basketball better. Like it's just the rhythm of it, and you get to practice every day, and like some of the things that like I love practice. I do love summer shootouts, and I just love seeing young people get better. I mean, but you can just influence more if you have them day in and day out and working on their skill level and all that. And that's so I don't know if I answered your question, but I did enjoy it. Last year's team was an incredibly enjoyable group of young men. A lot of them, like a couple kids I just saw last week at University of Findlay. They both got scholarships there, and they're going to be really nice players at University of Findlay. And there's several of them that are playing at scholarship level or D3 level, and just a bunch of really neat kids, and the families were phenomenal. And if that experience wasn't as good as it was, I'm probably not coaching here today. But it was just a phenomenal time, and it also kind of got my juices going again. And it's like, well, when Cole's done, maybe if the right opportunity came along, I would be open to it, and it did. And
what made Perrysburg the right opportunity for you?
Growing up there, I went to junior jackets. When I was a little kid, always went to camp. Larry Clark was there, and kind of, I dreamed of being a Perrysburg Yellow Jacket basketball player. Like when I was little, my dad took me to a lot of games, and he was a basketball guy. His dad actually played in college in 1921 at University of Wyoming.
Wow.
His dad and his uncle, there was a couple year period in there where they both played college basketball. So we've been playing for over 100 years, but we're a basketball. He took me there, and it was just very influential in my life. And when I went to Toledo Christian, that was one of the things. Not playing sports with my buddies at Perrysburg was I wouldn't trade what happened in ever. Like I made some of my best lifelong friends at Toledo Christian, and for me, I grew a lot after my 7th grade year. I think I don't know how tall I was, but I grew 7 or 8 inches that year. And I came back, and all of a sudden I was better than a lot of kids that were ahead of me. I was probably the 7th or 8th man on my 7th grade team. And a year later I was 6'1", and you go from being a little kid to longer, and kids that were 2 or 3 inches taller and stronger. I was just bigger then. But I also got to play every minute. I got to play as much as I wanted to, so there was just a ton of opportunity for me to get better. And I remember coming back to open gym, and I was just stunned that I was better than some of these guys that 9 months earlier were better than me. And I needed that for that opportunity. I don't know if I would have flourished quite the same way, but one of my things of coming to Perrysburg is making sure that those kids that were like me don't get left when they're in 7th and 8th grade, that they have opportunity. And like we took 4 teams to team camp last weekend, and we had a lot of times we only had 6 or 7 on the bench, or total. So the guys are playing as much as they can, but you get better by playing basketball, not by having 14 kids sitting on the bench and 9 of them barely play. And to me, I'm trying to kind of bring some of that small school grittiness to Perrysburg, where you get. it takes a little extra work, and you might have to pay for an extra team to get into that. But to give as many kids as we can the opportunity, that's just something that I'm really passionate about. And a lot of that is keeping that funnel big, so you get that kid that hits that growth spurt that they haven't given up on playing. When they might be a kid at Perrysburg, actually, when I was in 7th grade, was probably the 14th or 15th kid. By the time we were seniors, he was one of their top 2 or 3 guys. He ended up getting a D2 scholarship, and he grew to be 6'8" or 6'7" or 6'8", and he was a kid that would have been forgotten about a lot of times, but he just kind of stayed at it. And it's like I see some of those experiences, and I just know there's a lot more. Kids have a lot more in them than what they know a lot of times, and I want to try to draw that out of as many of them as I can. And even if it's just having a great experience as a freshman or great experience as a sophomore, all of that stuff is valuable to me.
That's what I always try to tell kids, like all the junior high kids. I go to basketball games and talk to kids about football, and whenever I see them, and I happen to coach track this year. They needed a throwing coach, so I coached, and I was able to recruit not only football players, but I coach freshman girls basketball too, so be able to recruit girls for that. And I try to tell them, like, okay, you may have sat the bench, whether it's football in 7th grade and 8th grade, you just don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen 2 years from now or at your senior year. You may be that missing thing that we need, for varsity. That maybe you're so fast now you're a punt returner for us, and that's all you do, but you're the best at it. Like, you never know what's going to happen, so you just got to stick with this stuff. And I know kids don't, because it's hard.
Right.
Like it is hard, and I tell kids that all the time. I go, look, I talk to Coach Hall. I go, look, Coach Hall, no offense, football is harder than baseball. He goes, no, 100%. I go, but we tell kids football is hard. Sports are hard. Everything's hard. But if you get through these parts, it makes at the end feel so much better.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can't get through to a lot of these kids. Now, this class for me for freshman year for football and basketball, I'm able to get a little more because they know me, because my son's in that class.
Sure.
So there's a little bit more that I can hopefully pull out onto the teams. But it's just you're always having the same conversations.
Yep.
And sometimes it can be frustrating, but you just know, like, and we're just the parents that go, well, when I played, or when this happened, or I talked to these kids 5 years ago, and then look, and they don't care though. They're just happy right now. What's happening, and this is how I feel.
Right. Yeah, and some of it you just never know what gets through to them. You speak truth into kids, and they may not hear it now, but I've had a lot of young men come back, 5 years later, 10 years later, and say, okay, I didn't always get it at the time, but I understand what you're trying to do now, and that's all you can do. You speak wisdom into them, and you hope that they receive some of it. And I know there was a lot of people that told me things when I was 14 and 15 that I was like, whatever, man, and you make your own choices, and sometimes you pay the price for that. But I also probably heard more of it and implemented more of it as well. And that's, I want to be that influence for them too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Tell me about your staff that you put together.
Sure. There's a lot of the staff has stayed the same. Coach Winkleman and the JV, and Zeke and the freshmen are still there, and we do have wonderful junior high coaches, which I was very excited about, because I think that's been a big reason why Perrysburg has continued to be good year after year. You have to have good junior jackets and middle school coaches, and
Coach Fonke's the best.
He's great. Coach Lucas is great. They're good people and know the game of basketball, and I can tell just watching them at camp that they're really good, and I've heard that from so many people too, that just what quality human beings they are.
Yeah.
But then on the varsity, we still have several, Tom Mackin and Brady Wildenmuth and Shane Edwards are volunteers. Okay. And then Mike Wilson was an assistant last year, has stayed on. He was an assistant for me at Toledo Christian. Okay. And he's going to stay on. And then Ron Reitnauer, who Ron coached at Toledo Christian. I coached under him, but he took Genoa to state in baseball. He played Major League Baseball, played for the Mud Hens. He actually does a lot of the Mud Hens games on TV or radio now, and he's a lot of people know him around town, but he helped at Lord's with their women's program recently, when won the league championship when he was there. And he's just a great basketball mind, a great competitor. He's one of the toughest people I know, and super excited about having him get around the kids and and we've already got some toughness, but yet you throw in a winner like him, and it's I'm super excited about it.
Is it hard trying to figure out like, all right, what's the best thing here for the kids as far as like building a staff or what? Because obviously Perrysburg, it sounds like you kept a bunch of guys, but like bringing in, you still want to bring in your own guys. Like, what is that process like?
So when I first took it, I thought, I knew they had quite a few people. I figured there'd be a few where I wasn't sure if we'd want them or whatever. And then I kept meeting these guys, and it was like, well, he's a winner, he's a winner, he's a winner. And it was like, I didn't necessarily want to have that many people, but that's when you have winners around, you win. Yeah. And it's like, there's everybody there is like, there's literally, and that was my thing at Southern Christian. My assistant coach went 20-0 his junior year and maybe 19-1 his senior year. My JV coach, longtime JV coach, didn't play basketball, but he was 10-0 in football his senior year of high school. These guys, all they know is winning. When you surround yourself with those types of people, we had all kinds of people on our staff that just, another longtime JV coach played for me. And as I got older, I started having guys that played for me that were around. But he was on a 20-0 team and on a 2 straight years where we didn't lose a game in the league, and then the other assistant coach was on a 22-3 team, and and some of that, when they have that level of success, they want to be back around it maybe a little more just because they've had such great memories. But we just had winners, and I'm just really pleased that we're kind of able to kind of generate that year one, and I don't have to manufacture that. Bringing Ron in really is the only outsider, but it's like and Ron will bring a different level of intensity. He's a psycho, and I love it. Like I say that in the best possible way, but he doesn't want to back down from anybody, and we want to go after the best.
Mm-hmm. So you put together staff, and you're coaching this summer. What's the biggest thing you learned about the boys playing?
Yeah, so we haven't had our full group. Tyson Bauer's been out, Ethan DeVries has been out all summer. We've had a couple kids with just little injuries here and there, but there's a lot of tough kids. We do have some high end kids that are really good, but with a couple of those guards that can handle pressure. Even like last weekend we won a tournament, we had a freshman that played a lot with us. We only had 6 guys. We had a freshman. We had a kid that will be a borderline. He'll be on the varsity, but he'll play some JV minutes more than likely. Mm-hmm. And then we had basically 3 full-time varsity guys. A kid that played JV last year that's going to be a varsity guy, and then a couple other varsity guys they just find ways to win, and they're tough, and they compete, and when you have a couple guards that can really handle it, it's amazing how those other kids can play off of it, and knock shots down, and get confident. And I'm impressed by even some of the people of just how tough and how they just love to compete. And we've got some kids that don't mind just putting their nose in somebody's chest and defending them, and that's with the younger groups, I want to continue to develop that. That's one of those things. Like, I'm just so big on, like, when you're out there, you play hard, and we represent Perrysburg. I say it all the time to my team of every time you put that jersey on, it matters to somebody. And like, even if it's summer league game, if we have a Perrysburg jersey on, we're playing hard. And even the standard's the standard, but even if we're in our gym by ourselves, we're gonna give our very best for the people of Perrysburg. And you never know what you're playing for. And I had a friend who was a Perrysburg grad last week who came back for a funeral of one of his friends from Perrysburg and spoke at the funeral, but he came to watch us play. And I just kind of told him, like, listen, it's not just about you. You're playing tonight, and in different nights you're going to have different people you're playing for. But when you get these people, you can bring a little bit of joy in a time that just kind of sucks for them. Mm-hmm. It's a bad, like, it's not a great time for them. And if you can bring a little bit of joy to that family who needs a little bit of joy that night, we want to do that, and that's by playing your butt off. And whether you might not always have the best team in the world, but you can play hard all the time. And that's one of those things where I will, we will compete, and that's my one, and I don't mind finding people that will compete, but we will find 5 that will go hard. And right now it's not hard. And I do think I see a lot of those young kids that I think can grow into that level of intensity as well. And I'm excited to kind of build that, in the way that we build it. And it's not broken by any means, but that's just that culture of that. I'm looking forward to kind of having it shape the way we want it to shape.
Well, you're coming in at a good time too, because the senior class is
darn good.
Athletically in every sport is really good, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned the football team should be good, and you have a lot of seniors on the basketball team who, as juniors, played most of the minutes last year.
Sure.
And how do you deal? I'm sure you always set yourself with high expectations, but I think everyone in the city knows who's involved in basketball has high expectations for this team for next year. How do you deal with that going, whether it's right now to when the season actually starts?
Sure. High expectations to me that's a privilege, and that's one of the things that, winning a couple of league championships in a row, and and the previous coaches did a great job of getting them ready and doing, having success. I mean, and for us, it's just continuing to build off of that. And I don't really, I don't know. I'm maybe too old to get nervous on stuff, but we're just going to do the very best we can. And it's I can live with the result. And I will tell you, I have a full belief that if we're at all healthy and we can get the kids to play hard, good things are going to happen. And you can't sit there and promise, hey, this amount of wins. Our schedule's the most challenging probably in Perrysburg history. We're playing, and I don't know if you've seen it, but we're playing several state powers, and we have some incredibly challenging non-league games. But for me, I want to find out how good we are. It doesn't do me a whole lot or do us a whole lot of good to go beat up on a Division 3 or 4 school that we're going to beat 99 out of 100. I want to, especially with this group, stretch it and say, okay, can you go into a neutral environment and go beat Cincinnati Moeller, or can you, and it might be you lose a 3-point game and you realize, whoa, wait a second, we're right there, but I'm going into those games with the thought that we're going to do everything we can to beat them, and I do know we will represent Perrysburg well, and you might get licked sometime. I had a few, we even at Toledo Christian, we would play I would annoy St. John's and St. Francis, and I got games with St. Francis and competed pretty well. We got foundation games with Central. We knocked them off one year when they finished second in the city, and I couldn't ever get them to schedule a game after that. But I just don't care. If we get beat, one year I got beat by Libby. They had a really good team, and it wasn't my best team. It was a decent team, but they got us by 20. And so what? We play hard, and even after the game, their coach, whose son actually later played for me, and I think some of it was because he saw that we just weren't scared. But he's like, I just appreciate that you guys came in and you competed your butts off. And he's like, most of the time that the talent differential, we probably should have won that by 40. But we were in the game. It was a single digit game late in the third quarter or early fourth or whatever, and they got away at the end. But it's you just play as hard as you can. But those games when you play the top level teams, when you come back and play some good teams in the league, it doesn't feel nearly as fast, and ultimately, I want us to make a run. I dream about what baseball's done, where they've gone back to back to back, and it's that's, there's Hilliard, Bradley can do it. They can go to a state final. You're telling me that there's something different there, and it's I do know you do have to have a special group. There's got to be some things that fall into line and all that, but it's why not us?
Mm-hmm. Well, before I let you go, a ranger stopped me. Brett Bethel stopped me.
Yeah.
He said, and he said, he's like, because when we started this conversation, I told him I was going to try to get you on. And just randomly today, he goes, did you get Coach McWhinnie on yet? I go, actually today, I'm talking to him today. So he wanted me to tell you. He said hi. He mentioned a story about a flag football game that got a little rowdy at one point, but. He said that because I asked where, as far as age group, he goes, Dave was when I was a certain age, Dave was the class that we looked up to. I was like, oh, these are our guys and these are cool or whatever. And but he spoke very highly of you.
So that story, that flag football game, we were down, and it was a running clock, and I knew we had to go fast, and they were like kind of delaying, and I remember getting the ball and sprinting it to set it down, and like my team had kind of given up.
Yeah.
And we've it's funny because it's been a while since my buddies. I still am friends with all of the guys that were on that team. Like we've had a group of guys that have gotten together for over 25 years. We get together every other Monday night, and they're amazing people. But that's probably over 20 years old. But I would sprint to get the ball, and I'm like, listen, if we don't have enough time, because I knew that they'd run the play clock and all that,
sure.
we have to get a possession, we have to get a stop, we have to get a score, and I just don't accept losing. Like we had a game the other day in our shootout where it felt like it was over, and I'm like, we will play to the end, and we ended up Adam Gray hit a 3 that got all over social media and got a lot of run, and it got him some attention, but not giving up.
Yeah.
Like Ben Paymer hit a 3 that rattled in and brought us to 1, and they missed a free throw or whatever, and all of a sudden we got the ball with 5 seconds to go. We come down and we hit a deep 3, and he got fouled on it too, which was awesome. But but you just don't give up, but that game, which is funny, we definitely, you can tell Brett that we that I haven't forgotten that we knocked him off during that, but it's just one of those things. I'm just so competitive, but that it would I think if I remember, he was like trying to slow the game down, or he was on top or whatever, and I was like trying to get the ball set. So I was never too dirty or anything like that, but I also just wanted to win. So.
Yeah. No, he spoke very highly of you.
Yeah, I love
Brett.
Excited. He's awesome. He's such a good man.
Yeah. But well, Dave, I appreciate you coming out here, man. I look forward. I'm sure. I know Miriam. I don't know if you guys talked yet about what practices were, but I'm sure I'll see you there during basketball season whenever I can get there. So one other thing too, because I'm not a teacher, I know how hard it is to like do a quote unquote regular job and coach.
Sure.
So that is it speaks very highly of you that you're able to do those things. It is hard. It is a hard thing to do. With teaching is natural. School's over, let's practice.
Yep.
With work, you might work a 9 to 5, and then you got to figure it out. Then you got to go back to work after maybe practice or something. So it is very impressive that you're able to do that for so long, because it is hard to do. You know? So.
Yeah. It definitely takes some challenges to it, but I'm super excited to do it and love it, and it's been just awesome being back in it. Like that's the young men in the program are phenomenal, and the parents have been great, and the community support has just been next level. And I think there's a lot of people excited about Perrysburg basketball, and I'm hoping that my passion for it carries over to the community, and I'm looking forward to trying to do everything we can to make the community proud.
Well, I think just in here, I can definitely feel that passion, and I'm sure the community would feel that as well. So I'm excited for you, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. If you want to reach out or be on the show, just search the Nerdball Podcast on any social media. If you want to email us, that is thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, there's always YouTube, so you can go on there, subscribe to the Nerdball Podcast, and watch the podcast every week. As always, thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cuddlefish Graphics, Big Daddy Graphics, and Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab for always supporting the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.